Are we ready? All right, who's starting?
Yeah, Coach, with your kind of unconventional style of recruiting here, not allowing official visits until the start of the regular season, is it kind of difficult to remain patient? And the class is kind of slowly coming together, but you got guys that are maybe pulling the trigger, and you think, well, if we could have just gone after that guy and had him in officially, we would have had a better chance? Or how is it hard to kind of stay patient and watch the thing play out?
Well, it's easy for us to stay patient. It's not easy for those players to stay patient. So it's a different way to go about it, but hey, I think it's the right way to do it. So we all enjoy it. It's kind of refreshing to see Coach Sweeney, and his philosophy on that. That is very refreshing to do. So
it's kind of fun then to buck the trend and be kind of somebody that goes about their business differently.
Absolutely,
sounds like,
because it's about the people. You got to have good people and the people that fit the program. So that's what we try to do. Get to know them a little bit. And most of the guys understand that we deal with. So it's going to be fun.
And I guess if you're patient with a kid like that doesn't make a rash decision to commit, you kind of get a better feeling, I would imagine, that, hey, these guys are really all in for, with lack of a better term, with us, and they're not just picking us because, hey, I got a Clemson from offer, an offer from Clemson.
That's the way. We like for them, hey, do your research. We're going to do ours. You do your research and, make your decision, and they know how we stand on that. It's pretty neat. Good question.
Hey, Robbie, you got a bunch of guys this year. You got some depth you've built over the last couple of recruiting classes, but some guys like Taquan Johnson, Brent Tucker, Ryan Tucker, those are a couple of guys I'm really interested in seeing how they develop. What did you saw out of those guys so far this spring, especially Taquan?
They say they haven't, because I watch a little bit what we can do. Can't work with them, but they say they're running really well, which is big for Taquan. He weighs about 350, so he's making all his running times, really progressing. I'm getting great reports through the strength staff and through our upperclassmen who I got some really good leadership in that room now, and it's exciting to see. So getting good reports on both of them. We've gotten bigger, we've gotten stronger. According to the strength staff, maybe the strongest we've been in quite a while. So our size is getting there. When you sign a guy, you're looking for growth potential, but there's really no guarantees in how they handle it. A guy like Paul Teo, he went from 340 to 295, and now he's doing it the right way, and he's back to about 320 now. So looks really good, running better, stronger.
Strength conditioning, that's one of the things you got to do with all those kids when they come in is get rid of that bad weight, then build them back up with good weight.
Exactly. Well, particularly for offensive linemen, and nobody does it better than our strength staff. It's so important. You got to enjoy the weight room if you're one of those guys. Skilled people, they might can get by on athleticism some, but we got to have some bulk about us and some strength about us, and someone that was missing in last year. So it's come along. Not having a summer to lift, COVID, this and that, and we don't use excuses. We did what we did, and we had several guys that limped to the finish line, and really my hat's off to them for sacrificing, to do that. And we just mentally didn't have some people ready. We had some miss a lot of work from either COVID or COVID contact. We had as many as 48 days from spring to into camp.
Taquan comes from a wrestling background, and that usually transfers pretty well to the guard center areas. Is there something you saw as well? Another question on Linthicum, the new center guy. Right. What are you seeing at him? He came in camp looking pretty good.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do. He hurt his wrist, and he's behind there a little bit. Missing some work, but he's got great potential. So does Taquan. The thing with Taquan, he's only played defense, and it's just not something that's natural anymore, just to move right over it. When I started, we didn't recruit anything but defensive linemen. Why? Because they played both ways. Now kids don't play both ways anymore. And then you find the exception like Tristan Leigh and Dietrich Pennington. They did. So, you know, they get adjusted to it really well. So, and they both played some tight end, particularly Dietrich, and a little more used to being on offense, and it's exciting.
Is Hunter one of the biggest centers you've ever had here?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, he's
6'5" center walking up the line.
He's 320.
Yeah, he's huge.
So
I mean, it's the first thing I noticed. The spring ball was.
It's good.
He walks up the line. He's weird looking.
Justin Falcinelli, I think he probably weighed 315 maybe.
Tommy Sharp.
But you know, he didn't. Justin wasn't that tall. It took him a little while to get used to it, but when he did, he was really good. So that's what I'm hoping for. You know, Hunter played a little bit of everything in high school, and his program was lost their coach in the middle of this season, a lot of different things. So he had a lot. He got moved around and filled in some places where they had a need. So,
of course, you right there. The cross training you do, that top some of that. Talk about that and your philosophy behind cross training, like you do.
Well, you know, two things. You never know when an injury is going to occur, and you got to have depth and to get your best players on the field. You know, we have 4 lines, counting all our guys, but they might not be the best at that position. So when we can get the best guys on the field, it shouldn't be shocking to them because they should have a rep or two, you know, at it before. So like this year, Matt Bockhorst been working at center, you know, so shouldn't be if we had to have him at center, you know, then we got a guy ready at guard. Marcus Tate came in here as a freshman. He's played tackle and guard already. So some can handle it, some can't, and that's kind of when the maturity, you know, everybody matures a little differently, so you never know.
Marcus, a bit of a surprise for just kind of where he was in the spring.
Physically, I kind of thought, you know, he might be close to that, but mentally, I had no idea. And not only did he come in and learn football well, he had a 4.0, and he should still be in high school. So that may have been the first time I've had that 4.0 out of a mid-year guy who still stood be in high school. So it's pretty cool.
Coach, with Jackson Carmen moving on to the NFL, who has caught your eye to maybe take that starting role at left tackle?
Well, in the spring, we switched Jordan and Walker around, just kind of see who, you know, was most comfortable. And Jordan had done it before, Walker's done it. So trying to create a little flexibility there. You know, they worked at it pretty well. John Williams and Mitchell Mays, they switched sides, and then I ended up moving John to guard. We had a little need there. So we try to get them used to it. It's to me, I try to teach it. It's not such a big deal, but it is. You know, your dominant foot maybe is not the one you're using the most. So it's harder than it used to be. But you know, because of the passing game so much. So, but they've adjusted to it well, and you know, if we started tomorrow when we walked out there, we'd have Jordan at left, Walker at right, and then we'll let it sort out from there. See who's, you know, we don't put anything in stone. Everybody earns their keep every year when we start over. So.
How do you feel about the tackles behind those two right now? Obviously, spring was about developing depth there.
Well, Mitchell Mays made a great deal of progress there as well. You know, we, like I said, I had John Williams working there some, and he worked at guard. Paul Teo does both guard and tackle. And now that you know, Paul's got that bulk added back. He's very strong in there at guard, gives a little more size. So, you know, Tristan Leigh and Dietrich Pennington are both. Dietrich is a guy that can play both inside and out. From what I've seen, obviously I hadn't worked with him. And Tristan, probably a little more tackle than inside, but hey, you know, at 320 something, I wouldn't be surprised if he couldn't play at all.
compare Tristan as he came in to where Jackson came in at the same time, their freshman year, where they're at right now?
That's a good question. I would say just looking at them, comparing from high school to high school, Tristan might be a little more athletic just because he's lighter. People forget that Jackson came in here weighing about 380 and had to get down, but he was like a dancing bear with, at 380. So he had great feet. Learning. Tristan has been in a three-point stance more at this point in his career than Jackson had. So that's a little bit, if you had to move inside, that's a little bit more beneficial. Been in a stance play. A little different.
With your 6 newcomers that you had last year, Paul's the one that's probably made the biggest physical strides over the course of the year.
All right, let's think about it here now. Trent Howard is probably put on, I think he's about 285 now, close to 290, so he's made good progress and had a lot of setbacks from strep throat, mono, so he's overcome a lot, man. I tell you, I've been proud of him. And who else? We had John Williams. He's gotten a lot stronger. He came in a little bit heavy last year, conditioning, got down, now he's back up and running great, so he's made great strides. Brian Tucker, he's gotten a lot stronger, doing well there. We talked about Paul. Paul is just in the weight room. He has just shown out. It's been fantastic. So, who else? Walker. Walker's, I think 305 now. Put on weight. His mama sent me a picture of
240
when he was younger and now with his big brother, and it's pretty cool. So, who else? Anybody I miss in there? Mitchell. Mitchell, man, he's made great strides since that spring.
Left or right?
He did both. Right now, he's probably a little more towards the right side, but he did both, and he's a little bit more at home right now on the right.
About Jordan and Walker, two guys that getting a lot of press, especially Walker at the end of last year. But Jordan, with the potential he's got coming this year, then in the role he's stepping into, he's got a chance to really make a big name for himself. And
really,
Walker, talk about his transformation. We just talked about it.
Right.
Camp, first year he came here, he was 240 pounds.
Right.
I interviewed him.
That's right.
240
That's
pounds.
right.
I looked at him and said, you're an offensive lineman? Yeah. And
He's made great strides. While you're on Walker, we talk about him. And, at the time he started coming to camp here, as you said, you saw, and to see the work he's put in, and always a smile on his face, excited about it. I mean, if he doesn't love it, he's got me fooled, because he just acts like he loves it. And, his first thing I see is his truck in the parking lot every morning, and I get here pretty early.
he plays with an edge, though, to be so happy.
He really does now. He's a hardtail, and his dad was a good player, and, he got some good coaching from him, and, the outlook of the game, and Mama loves it, so it's a good family. That's one thing I love about all mine. All their parents are involved in the good way, so that's been fun. And Jordan just quietly goes about his business. He had a heck of a year last year. I mean, he did a great job. And now, technically just going to be a junior. I'd be shocked if he's not the best in the league if she stays healthy. People look at him and he don't get his due because he's not 6'5", he's not 6'6".
Wasn't recruited that highly at the time.
No, and that's just, you look for those diamonds in the rough. You look for those guys who play with a chip on their shoulder, and that's why Walker and Jordan, they're difference makers. And Matt Bockhorst, they play with a chip on the shoulder. Will Putnam is one that, he and Matt had surgery as soon as the season was over. They look like different people. They're running better. Matt's probably close to 320. fun, healthy, stronger in the weight room than he's ever been since his knee injury. And Will, you know, had his ankle reconstructed from an injury in high school. And, you know, in that grappling, they twisted all up. And, he's, you know, playing pain-free and makes a difference, I tell you. So,
What did Matt have? Just a scope cleaned up?
yeah, he had his knees cleaned up again, and you know, he hurt that thing at the Open years ago. And it ain't. I tell you what, it's tough. So, but I'm watching him do squats and power clean, and it's amazing. He says it feels the best it's ever felt. So,
How is it important to have a guy like him to kind of help you break these young guys in? I mean,
oh, I'm telling
he's
you,
like a coach, isn't he?
he is fantastic. He that's one thing he and Jackson Carmen did last year that helped during the COVID. You know, is helping coach. Of course, we could do virtual and stuff like that, but it's not the same as in person. You know, I don't know who's listening and who ain't on that thing. You know, I can check them in and make sure they're there, but who knows? So, but and when it's in person, it's a little bit different. And Matt's been good. Jordan's been a good leader. I've been impressed with him because normally he doesn't say anything, and but he's been. You know, he leads by example too. So they both do.
What's Matt's best attribute?
The toughness that he brings. He is a mean. He gonna match you in the dirt, and that kind of rubs off. You know, after a while, he's probably the best finisher been around in a while. He's right on the edge. Sometimes I had to jerk a knot in him. You know, he want to get it pretty good, but you just deep down you're loving every minute of it. So.
When it comes to offensive line, it's probably never as bad as the fans think. You know, maybe it's not as good as a coach, whatever. Bockhorst seemed to take a lot of ownership on it, though, in the spring. Said he was angry at the way that they played. Have you seen that? And when you went back and looked at the season in retrospect, what were your thoughts? How did the unit perform?
Well, they did much better than people realized. You know, obviously it's my group, biased opinion, but all I can tell you is I know what they sacrificed. I know what they did, you know, for us. But it's a position where nobody sees the good that you do. They only see the bad. You know, I mean, for quarterback throws an incomplete pass, ain't no big deal. But if we turn one loose, holy moly, you know, all Hades breaks loose. But it's just a different life. We understand it, you know.
You got DJ coming up this year, and it's quarterbacks calling protections out is a big deal. I mean, they're calling the protections out when they walk up to the line a lot of times.
Well, we do a lot of that.
Your line does it.
Yeah, we do a lot of that. So, and they help, but they have to be pretty smart up front. When you look back through it and you see all that they did and all the adjustments they made, it's kind of like my daughter told one in the stands one day. One man was just cussing. And my wife don't care if you cuss me, that's all right. But she don't talk about her babies up there. She loves them boys too. But my daughter jumped straddle one right there in Death Valley and let him know right quick that it's 5-man protection and they bring in 7. That you're probably not smart enough to understand that, but she would be glad to explain it. So,
that's great.
But, you know, that's the way we go about it. But that's the world we live in. We love it, you know. So, you know, what other position does what we do? Huh? Defense can give up 40 points, but we win. What difference?
What about the involvement of the offensive line position and the coaching with the changes from zone blocking schemes now to this RPO stuff? You know, you've got different calls going off. You got to make sure you're not downfield. You know, too far
yeah,
downfield.
it's harder. It's harder. You know, how aggressive can you be and technically follow the rules? We try to stay with it. You know, we try to not have senseless penalties, so to speak. So. That's what we try to avoid. It's hard to hold the brakes, you know, and then stop. be physical and stop. But hey, it's great too, because all of a sudden you throw one down there, score a touchdown.
How's Thomas Austin been as an addition to your staff?
Great, he's been here before, so it's been good. Great to have him around, so I'm excited.
Did his time away do anything to bring back something with him that he didn't have before to add to the room?
Yeah, it's like you tell all these young people, at some point you need to run your own room, and that's how you truly learn. And so that was the great part about it. And then, he worked under a guy who coached the offensive line too before, so, he's going to bring some attributes that'll help. And, he's a former Clemson player, so we're very proud to have him here.
Robbie, forgive me if you've been asked this already, but how good can Walker be?
I think he can be a great player. He has the desire. He has size now. He's up to 300 pounds, maybe a little more. Strength-wise, he's really developing. Athleticism, he has it. Staying healthy and doing those type things. I think he can be as good as there's ever been.
Do you think you'll have a pretty good idea early on in the season, particularly facing Georgia week 1, just how better your offensive line can be this year?
I think so. I think, fall camp's going to be big, trying to get the people in the right place, to find out who the best 5 are, what we need to do to move around. We always cross-train and put guys at different positions, so I think that's going to be the fun part of it. If we can stay healthy and away from COVID and that sort of thing. Last year we had a lot of people missing with either contact tracing or COVID itself, and that always sets you back a little bit.
Kind of following up on that and what David asked earlier, did you think the criticism that was directed at your unit last year was fair, or did you think some of it was fair, some of it was undeserved?
I don't pay it any attention.
Okay.
Why would you take advice from those people? They don't have a clue. Like I just gave the example of my daughter telling the guy in the stand, they don't know 5-man protection and they bring 7. Well, who's responsible for those other 2? All right? They don't ever say that, but that don't worry me. That's the world. That's the offensive line world. That's why they're such special people. All right? There's none better.
Where do you attribute some of the run game struggles from last year? I don't know how much. I'm not smart enough to say that any of it had to do with the O-line. I'm just curious where your thoughts were.
Well, the two worst games we had, what was there, who was there. What would you do? Would you put 8 in there and not let E.T. beat you, or would you let a freshman quarterback see if he can do it? What did he do? He threw for 500 yards both games. So, we pass block too, don't we? So, yes, we'd like to be bigger. Yes, we'd like to be more physical. Yes, we'd like to run the ball better, and we will. But, it's like the last game versus Notre Dame.
Did you see defenses approaching you and how they would, how many guys they'd stick in the box against the run and stuff that different last year than maybe the years before?
Yeah, we knew it was going to happen, particularly, when you get a freshman in there, they're going to challenge and see if they can handle it and handle it really well. I'd like to play a couple of those games over with, see us be more physical. I'm not hiding from it. Yes, I'm disappointed, in that fact. My guys are too, but there's a lot of factors involved, and, the offensive line being one of them.
Is there a little bit of the, you didn't have Justin Ross last year, the other, Frank and Joe were kind of coming along health-wise at different points with the receivers, that there just wasn't maybe necessarily that big play guy to take the top off the defense a little bit too, and so even when Trevor was in there, maybe defenses would approach you guys a little bit differently.
Well, I don't get into that world. I know what I kind of handle up there is just, everybody's got their own, but you know, I got to take care of those 5 right there. And if we don't get 4 yards a clip, I'm disappointed. You know, the way I was raised up in this thing, 3 times 4 is 12. That's the first down. So that's the kind of way I look at it. Not hiding from it. That's just the way I look at it. I love running the football, but I love them easy passes too. But what I tell my guys is, you know, they play on all that stuff. They listen to all that. I said, boy, don't we pass block too? Didn't we throw for 500 yards? It's pretty dang good. So, you know, you can't please them all.
I'm just happy somebody's listening to me.
Yeah, well, that's good, though. I am. I tell you what, I appreciate it. And we hope to be much better in all the way around. But, yes, we would like to have run the ball better in several of those games. Some of them, we ran it really well. Some of it, you know, we could have probably gotten more yards in the run game, but we didn't need to. We throw it. And you know, when you have a run-pass option, you know, we're blocking run, but they throw the ball. Well, we don't get those yards.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just, but like I say, that falls on me. That's my responsibility. We don't do good in the run game, you just need to blame me. That's my fault. The way I look at it, yes, sir.
Any other questions for Coach? We got about 2 more minutes.
One more. Go back to when you first got here. The talent pool you had then to what you got now. Describe the difference between that and like a Spencer region, not to say nothing, a guy like that to what you got now.
Well, you know, there's some comparisons all the way around. Defenses have changed, you know, different philosophies, different, you know, sometimes, you know, you think, well, you just need guys as big as this table and all, but they're not catching all that movement's difficult, kind of like the last national championship, you know. A lot of movement was difficult for them. So you just never know. Obviously, you'd like to have the bulk and the mobility, and that's what we're working towards. We're trying to grow these guys, and our strength people, man, our strength staff just does an awesome job. But they got to have some time too, and you got to bring the frames in here for them to work with. But comparison one group to another is difficult. You know, I thought they were pretty good when we got here, and they ain't gonna be pretty good now. So that's a tough question to answer. I never really sat down. Are we bigger at spots? Yes. Can we run better at spots? Yes. But like I say, the differences in the defenses we face are drastically better.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it, Coach.
Thank you.